Welcome to this week's episode of the Red Couch Podcast. I'm Konstantinos Drossos. Alongside me is my host, Alex Allen. And today we are welcomed by our guest, Olivia Kyriakopoulos. Olivia, how are you?
I'm great, thanks. How are you?
Pretty good, pretty good. How's your summer been so far?
Busy and hot. It's been
Yeah?
a hot one.
Doing anything fun?
Just looking after a little kid.
Oh, that sounds fun.
Yeah, a bunch of weekend vacations away.
Right on.
Pretty
Awesome.
quick ones. But thank you for having me on the show.
Thank you for coming.
Of course.
You know, so Alex and I were, before we started this episode, we were looking at, the difference between, what a nanny and an au pair is, and we were kind of caught up on what the difference is because we saw that they do the similar things, but there is a difference. Can you kind of help paint the picture as to what the differences are?
That's actually a big question people have as well, because like you said, if you were just to look at a video and watch somebody, you would have no idea. The tasks are very similar, but the difference mainly is an au pair is a cultural exchange program. So if you're looking to travel abroad while also having like free accommodation or free food, that's an avenue to do that. So you're both looking after kids. As an au pair, you would be living with your family versus as a nanny, you wouldn't necessarily be living with them. You can choose to do that, but it's just another way of traveling and kind of, I guess, just enjoying your life abroad somewhere.
Interesting. And so how did you come across this job?
I actually didn't mean to. I was procrastinating studying for an exam one night, and I was just scrolling through job postings on Indeed, actually. I clicked off of it, and I was on Google, and this Au Pair World website came up, and I clicked on it. I was like, what is this? And I made a profile. It's so put in all my information, fill out the questions. I think like 2 hours later, I just kind of forgot about it. I shut my laptop off and went back to studying. And I think 3 weeks later, I got an email that a family had reached out to me, and I was like, what is this? I didn't really remember at the time that I had done that. And then I just started talking to the family back and forth, and then I decided, hey, I'm going to do this. I took an extra semester of university, so my second semester of that year, I wasn't working. I didn't have anything lined up for the time. And yeah, I just kind of decided we're just going to try this and see what it is. But I had no idea what it even was. I didn't know anybody that had previously done it. I think I looked on TikTok and found one girl that had posted a video about it. Yeah, it was kind of, looking back, I'm like, why did I do that? That's kind of silly and really risky. My parents definitely were like, Liv, what are you doing?
Wait.
Yeah.
Wait.
Yeah.
So school though, is this what you were actually going through school then?
No. Oh
what?
My gosh, no. I actually didn't even really
but you made
know how to interact with kids. Thinking about living with kids, I was like, I can't do that. I can't do that. I don't even know what I'm doing with my life right now by making this decision. I had wanted to be, my life kind of was like this. I wasn't really in a place where I was stable with a career choice. I was very, I'm graduating soon. And, it's that, what we were talking about before, we were I just don't really know what to do. But I was planning on being a high school teacher. So I wanted to go to teacher's college, but for a completely different area. Avenue or, yeah.
That's so strange.
Yeah.
What made you just want to be okay, search on Indeed, something totally different from what you're going to school
actually,
for?
I didn't even search it. It just was those advertisements that come up, the website's an advertisement. I don't even know. I didn't click on any childcare related things.
Okay.
I think I maybe was looking for soccer teams to volunteer for, which is working with kids a little bit.
Okay.
And then it just happened to show up, and I clicked on it, and I was like, okay, this looks pretty cool. It was completely random. Nothing in my life had ever really led me to make that decision, but it was definitely something where I was I love new experiences. And so the summer previous, I went tree planting, which for me, I don't know if you've heard anything. Have you heard anything about tree planting? It's you're living in a tent for 2 or 3 months.
I do. My friend's in a band, and his lead singer went out to Vancouver or somewhere out there to do tree planting for 3 months, which it sounds pretty cool. Yeah, but I had no idea you were in a tent.
Yeah, it's definitely an experience where you're I will never do anything like this in my entire life. And that's when I realized the things that scare me so much, because I didn't know anybody when I went either. I went Northern Ontario, and I was wow, this is so different. I love that feeling of you don't know what you're about to walk into either. Mm-hmm. So then when I was presented with this opportunity, I'm wow, that tree planting experience was incredible. It changed me as a person. This is kind of a similar, a replica, but just in a completely different way. And with high school, I never had the opportunity to go on an exchange because I was always playing sports. And like you said, previously, when you're committed to a sport like that, you don't have any off time. So taking a year to go off, it's like, oh, well, then I'm missing my chance to get scouted somewhere and blah, blah, blah. So that was kind of like just a way for me to have an exchange, but also do something new. So that's kind of how it happened. Yeah, pretty crazy.
Interesting. And, we were talking about this before we walked in the room here to start shooting the podcast. And I was going to ask, like, do you think that this is, like, for a student who wants to work abroad and also work with kids, do you think that this job would be good for them to pursue for, a summertime job?
Yeah, I think honestly, even if you weren't planning on working with kids or that had nothing to do with the life that you wanted after when you came home, I think it's a great decision to make regardless. When you put yourself in a new country, when you're all alone, you don't know anybody, especially if you go somewhere to a country where you don't speak the same language, you're presented with so many obstacles. You're only going to come out of that experience a different person. So whether you want to work in media, whether you want to work in sales, whether you want to go back to construction or just do something completely unrelated, having an experience that's so different like that is only beneficial. But yeah, if you're wanting to work in childcare, if that kind of looks like it would line up with the life you want to live afterwards, I think it's super beneficial. You also see how a household is run, that not every life that you had growing up is like the one that you can create for yourself. So you learn so much from it. And definitely when you're living with a family, like a lot of the people that go are in university or maybe they just graduated high school, you're kind of in that stage of your life where you're finding your independence. So if you've lived on your own, now going back and living with somebody and now you have a curfew or you have to listen to other people, you're now taking care of kids that aren't your own 24/7, like it's definitely a good experience. And you learn a lot about what your life could look like in the future. If you want to plan on having a family or if you want to buy a house, now you know about all the household chores that go into that, how much time and energy it takes to be a parent, Like when we're younger, we look at our parents and we're like, why are they so frustrated? Why are they stressed out? Like you're just living your own life, right? Like you come home from school, you do your homework, you go to sports, like life is good. Life is pretty whatever. But yeah, when you're an adult now living in that household, you see it from a completely different perspective. And it gives you like you just have more empathy for the parents. Yeah.
It just seems so difficult of a thing just to like kind of uproot yourself of
Yeah.
how your life was here in Canada and be like, I'm gonna go to France, I'm gonna be an au pair there.
Yeah.
It's so, what kind of just actually made you think on just going up and do that then?
It was a very irrational decision. Like I just wanted something new. And it was really scary. Like the interview that I had with my family, I think we had called twice and their English wasn't very good. So now I'm talking through Zoom. And it was also during the pandemic. So this was 2021 when my parents were like, Liv, COVID, you should stay home. You shouldn't be traveling on planes. It was when you had to get those, what is it, like a PCR test? Was it the PCR test that you had to get before you even, the rapid test?
Yeah.
So I had to spend insane money even getting my rapid test like 24 hours before my flight. So there's just so much that was going on at that time where everyone was against you. They're like, why are you doing this? Like, it's just pretty insane that you're making this decision right now. But it ended up being like the best 3-4 months of my life. So I wouldn't have changed it for anything. But it definitely, I guess, drilled into me that you don't need support to do the things that you want to do. And it could go any way. It could be really bad. Like I went back to France for a second time. I don't know if we've talked about that, but I went back a second time and that experience wasn't very good. But my first one was incredible. But yeah, when you kind of have everyone against you, it just kind of showed me like, Liv, if you want to go do something, like you don't need people rah cheering for you, just go and do it and you can kind of make it however you want. Yeah.
And touching back to what you said earlier, you mentioned households. Now you are a nanny right now, right?
Yes.
So you just said you were in France. When you moved out to France, the household, what was different from a household in France, like the family dynamic, compared to here in Canada, like North America, to be more specific?
Interesting question, because this is my first childcare job in Canada. So I only have this current household to compare to. But in France, so in Paris, my second time, they're tiny apartments. The kids, we're talking about just in the household, right?
In the household, like the way the family dynamic functioned, like dinner time, stuff like that. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, dinner time is really, really late. They eat at like 9 p.m. And for me, that was way too late for me. I couldn't do it. I'm like the one stealing snacks and putting them in my dresser drawer in my bedroom. Like, oh, I could not do it. But yeah, the kids will mainly sleep on like little mattresses all together in a room. I think it's more of like a Montessori I don't know if you've heard of that. It's like a childcare.
Oh, the Montessori.
Yeah, Montessori. Sorry, I pronounced that wrong. It's like a technique that just gives them more independence to get up and get out. So usually they'll all be on mattresses together in a room. The what else is different? They don't have dryers. A lot of stuff is like you hang them to dry. Their washing machines are in their kitchens. I just don't know if that's like a normal thing here. It's different from my house, but maybe that's like kind of similar for other households.
What about like learning dynamics? Did you have to teach the kids anything like that, like compared to here in Canada? Like, what was the difference over there compared to here?
The kids go to, oh my gosh, if I lived there, I would not last. The kids go to school from like 8 o'clock in the morning to 6 p.m. at night. So that's just like a really, really long day. Like they'll come home and it's like, when do they have time to be a kid? Like they can't go outside. It's dark outside. Like you come home, they have their shower, their bath, and they eat dinner and they go to bed. So really long days for them. In the first family that I was living with, I didn't have to teach them any French. That's usually a requirement. If you want to be an au pair, you have to work on, any English. You have to work on teaching them your maiden or your native tongue. Yeah. In my first family, they didn't want you doing that? Yeah. Okay. I kind of explained that wrong.
It's okay.
In my first family, they only wanted me speaking English.
Oh, okay. I see.
So I explained that just wrong.
Oh, it's all right.
Yeah.
So like the family was like demanding that, okay, like you're coming here from North America, we want you to only speak English to the kids.
Only speak English. Okay. Like even if I said like we, like they'd be like, live.
No, they'd reprimand you. They'd teach you like one of the kids.
Yeah, because they wanted it. Like there were no like sessions. They weren't like you're doing homework. The kids were also really young, so you would just always speak English. And then in my second family, the kids didn't know any English. Like they told me that they did before I got there, and then I got there and they didn't even know hi, please, thank you. So it was difficult.
Yeah.
But yeah, with that one, it was more so the young girl that I was looking after would bring home her English homework and we would do English homework together. So that was interesting. Yeah, and she taught me some French too, but
that's pretty cool.
That was kind of how those school sessions went.
So what about you as yourself as a young adult moving to a new country? How did you go about making new friends? Because I imagine that would have been like, that's like the number one thing someone like myself would think about when I moved to like, let's say if I were to go to like Switzerland or something like that.
Yeah. And honestly, it's a lot like if you're moving to a new city, like even if you're going off to university, you're like, that's something that everyone always worries about. It's kind of similar, like the techniques. I just think that you're more willing to put them in place when you're in a different country because you don't know anybody. Like what could possibly go wrong? I used Facebook groups, so you can look at, au pairs in my area or expats in my area, and then just list the location that you're staying at. I did that a few times. You can join French classes, so like language classes. And the first time I went away, they actually had like an au pair language class, so everyone that I had met actually was going through the same thing as me. So it gave us a lot to talk about. We all could relate on similar topics. I would also use Bumble BFF, which we have that here too. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you could use that in Canada. Right. We would do that. Meeting people in coffee shops, it's really scary to do that, especially when you're in an area where you don't know the language. It's like the second I heard someone speaking English, I'm like, oh, you speak English? Like, me too. Where are you from? Are you from here? Or are you just, spark up little conversations.
Awesome.
Yeah. And then a lot from TikTok too. Like I think when I got there, I just started posting. Like it's like my own little private story, not really thinking anything would happen with it. And then people would contact you through TikTok and be like, hey, like I live really close to here. Do you want to go for coffee? So I think probably like 90% of my friends actually came from TikTok and people that kind of just lived around the area, which stranger danger, maybe look into that a little bit. Like that's kind of, if someone randomly messages you on the internet, don't just go out and meet with them. Like especially, I guess, don't really do that. But for the first month that I was there, I actually wanted to go home really bad because it was so lonely. Like I would finish with the kids and then I would go into my room and I would just like lay in my room and go to bed because there's nothing to do. And there are things to do, but you don't necessarily want to go out and do things alone. So I think once you meet your first or your second friend, it makes it a lot easier because then they will introduce you to their friends and then you kind of just create this big group. Mm-hmm. So until you get the first or the second, then it's a little bit difficult.
What were some other aspects of working and traveling that you liked a lot while being overseas in Europe?
Honestly, I think the biggest thing, and even coming home, I'm like, oh, that kind of disappeared. It's just the confidence that you get when you're in a new area because no one knows you. So if you have always wanted to go do X activity, there's no one holding you back from doing that. You can kind of just go and do it. Or when you're meeting new people, if you want to be a certain way or there's a part of yourself that you're always like holding back, you're not necessarily going to hold that back anymore because like I said, nobody knows you. There's not someone going to be sitting there being like, "Oh, you've never acted like this before. You've never done this before. So why are you doing this?" Like that's kind of weird. It's like you just go and do it.
There's no judgment.
Yeah, there's no judgment. Also, living in Europe, the railway systems, the airports, everything is so close together. So just being able to be like, hey, like I want to go on a trip this weekend. Like, is that okay? And then just hopping on a plane for like €5 and just going somewhere.
That's a
like
cool thing.
That's not something you can do here in
No,
Canada.
no. Even like a train pass is going to cost you like $100, $200 here. And you're like still in Ontario. I'm like, okay.
Yep.
Yeah. So definitely everything is super, super close together.
Yeah.
And were you like going around then traveling and like trying to talk to other people? Are you fluent?
No.
In what?
No. It's kind of like a long story short, but the guy that I was dating at the time, we had been together for a year and he was from Quebec. So he was French. And I had always been like, oh, like if I'm going to go to a country, I want to choose a country where I can benefit from it. But the French is totally different. The French that they speak in France is nothing like you're going to hear if you go to Quebec. It's like, it's very like harsh and different.
You know, I've heard that.
It's true.
It's like aggressive here in Canada comparison.
Yeah.
It's so
that's
weird.
why, like, I didn't know anything. I took it, I think, up until grade 10 in high school. But at that time, I was 6 years removed from high school. So I had not used it at all. And yeah, so going away, I was like, I want to work on this. I want to learn something. But it was hard because the family that I lived with, it was constantly English in the household. So I didn't really learn anything at that point other than when I left the house and I was speaking to people, going to get my bread every day, like those little tasks that I had to do. I would use my French and you weren't very confident with it. But yeah, when I came home, I was like to my like ex-boyfriend, can you just speak French with me? And he would go and I'd be like, I guess I didn't learn anything because I don't know what you're saying. But it was because of it sounds different.
It's crazy. Even like my dad's from Quebec, and growing up, like we'd go over there and you'd be walking around out in public, and you just hear all this like it's like cursive English almost. It's nuts.
Yeah, you can't hear the spaces in their words.
No,
it's everything. That's how I would describe it too. It's cursive. Yeah. Whereas when you're in Paris, it's just very like
elegant.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah.
And did you just like start for like being a nanny?
Yeah.
And you were making all these TikTok videos. Did you just start that when you were in France?
Yeah. Yeah.
You just made a whole TikTok account there?
I actually had a TikTok account because I was like one of those girls that just like would stay up until 3 a.m. just like scrolling. And then when I got there, I've always loved video creation. I've never like posted my videos, but I've always loved it. And this kind of, like if you're making videos back at home, it's always like, oh my gosh, like the people from high school, they might see me or I might run into them. And then I'm going to judge myself and I'm going to be very like self-critical. But when you're abroad, I'm like, oh, if they see me, like, I'm not going to see them for 3 months. So like if they are going to be like, oh, like that's kind of cringe. Like, I don't care. Like, I'm not going to really know about it.
Well, plus you have almost over 100,000 followers now.
Yeah.
So
yeah. It grew like.
What would it matter if they did say something about that?
And you realize too, like the people that do support you are way more important than any little negative comment that anyone ever makes. Like they still do affect you. Like you're a human, you have emotions too. You'll read it and you'll be like, oh, like I don't really want to post anymore. But then you think about all the people that like all the friendships that I've made through my online community. You kind of have to bring yourself back down to earth a little bit and be like, oh, like this is why I do it. I don't necessarily, I'm not posting for the people that don't like to see it. I'm posting for myself and then just the people that I've met through this avenue of just sharing my life. But yeah, I think actually when I went to France, I had 270 followers. Yeah, which is crazy to think about. And I think the first 2 months, it kind of like stayed under 10K, but every follower that I got, I was like jumping up and down. Like I was just so happy because it was never a goal of mine. Like it was just kind of something that I like to do. I didn't have like, oh, like I want to reach 50, I want to reach 100. Like that never crossed my mind. It was just something that was fun and enjoyable for me. And now that we are where we are, like it's crazy the opportunities that come from it, but it's scary too, because when you start getting opportunities, it starts to feel like work, and then it stops becoming as enjoyable. Because then you look at the numbers and you think about like, oh, if a brand sees those like small numbers, if one of my videos doesn't do well, then, X isn't going to reach out to me and blah, 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 blah. And it stops becoming just a project that you started for the enjoyment of yourself. And you start looking at it as like an avenue to get you somewhere else, kind of.
So yeah, you lose that enjoyment from it.
Yeah,
then.
a little bit, but.
Okay. But what video was it that kind of you saw and you're like, wow, I can't believe this is gaining so much attention?
There were one recently that I had, actually, now that I'm a nanny, I was with my nanny brother, and he said purple for the first time, which like I just happened to catch that on video. And that one took off. That one was at 10 million views, and then it got taken down. TikTok took it down.
What?
Yeah, apparently like people flagged it for child endanger. I don't know. It was like, I look at my account and it got 2 flags on it, and then the video was done, and they like, my friends are telling me just like go back, or like just talk to them about it, and like
that's sad
disappeared.
because like you do a service for like the parents as well, for like, let's say if you're nannying a child who took his first steps, right, or their first steps, or like you capture it on video, and it's like if the parents want to see that happening, they can just reference your video that you took, right? So
but the people in the comments of that video were like hating the fact that I took the video.
Really?
Yeah, they were. And it's like, whether I take the video or not, like I still watched it happen. And at least, like you said, I have it on video, so now they can see it. But those were I think people also don't know the whole story when you're posting videos online. Like that was my first time seeing him walk.
Right.
His parents had already seen him walk, but now I'm getting all of these negative comments about how, nannies shouldn't be a thing. It's, just really negative comments towards parents that have help, because I think it's great if you have help in your household. Like doing parenting alone by yourself, so hard to do that. I support any form of help when you have young kids. But yeah, the comment section of some videos, it could be like the most wholesome video ever, and then you're always gonna have people that are on the other side of it.
Yeah, I think like the best way to go about that is just like looking at the positive output you're putting to your audience. Just like you try to deter yourself from looking at the negative aspects, but like you just focus on the positive, because you are sharing, not only with the parents but with people who are looking forward to stuff like that. The beauty behind it and whatnot. But I also saw that alongside your TikTok platform, you've also created a community for au pairs and nannies to connect with one another.
Yes. Yeah.
Why did you feel that there was a need to do that?
I think that it's easy to feel very alone when you're in a situation like that. Or, I don't want people reaching out to me through my TikTok and not getting a message back for like a week or however long it takes. Like I wanted people, if they're going through something, or if they need a friend, if they want to share something big that happened in their life, that they have people to do that with. And yeah, I created a Discord. I message on it every single day. It's just kind of like, it's not only about au pairing and nannying. It's just, we've turned it into online friendships, which I love. And it's, when you're a nanny or an au pair, you're not necessarily just going to run into somebody on the road that's doing the same thing as you, but through the Discord, like, you have people that can always relate to you in some way. So.
And for someone who's looking to pursue either being a nanny or being an au pair overseas, could they go to your Discord, for instance, and like look for information for being a first time?
Yes.
They can?
Yeah. On my Discord, I have an important resource tab where I post materials that I've used, my interview questions, how to get a visa, resources like that. And there's also a tab, that's looking for a family. So if anyone that has previously joined my Discord, if they're with a family right now and they know that they're leaving their family in, let's say, like 2 months, and their family is looking for somebody else, they can put a post up like, hey, is anyone looking for a family? And then you can connect that way. Or if you're looking for a family, you can just make a post and be like, hey guys, like, anyone know of anybody looking for an au pair? I'm looking to start X state. And they can connect that way.
So what's another goal you were hoping to achieve with this career path that you chose?
I think a big thing, I'm going back to teachers college in September, so nannying isn't like a full-time thing for me for the future. It's definitely something that I could look back on, but I think 2 things. One, just learning how to run like a household, because I think like that's a big decision a lot of people have to make in our lives, is just, you know, do I want to buy a house? Do I want to start a family? And we don't know how to do that. We've never done it before. You're doing it for the first time. So for me, it's just understanding all the intricate details that go into it, how much time it takes to run a household, all the chores, how to sign your kids up for activities, those kind of things. I'm like learning and teaching myself how to do that. So just number one, like learning how to run a household and seeing the stress it puts on people and how I can kind of overcome that and just have a good balance. And then number two is because I'm choosing a career in childcare, I'm going to be a teacher. It teaches me a lot about empathy and patience. So for me, it's just like those really transferable skills. So nothing really directly from the job, like tasks or like chores, but just learning how to connect with little kids. If they are having a tantrum, how do I pull them out of that? How do I like comfort them and support them? Or, you know, instead of getting upset, you can't. They're not your, like, you can't do this with your own kids, but because they're not your kids, you have no other option versus, okay, Liv, like, what am I going to do right now? How do I get them out of this without raising my voice or, you know, getting really upset or having them see that I'm frustrated visibly on my face from my facial expressions? So just learning how to empathize with what they're going through and be really creative with how I move forward and help them through like really difficult situations. Because when you're in a classroom, you're going to be there with 30 kids. So you're going to be dealing with a lot of different personality types and a lot of different issues. So just learning how to manage everything, I guess.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of people in life as well, that sometimes we don't know where our next step is going to go for things. And
exactly.
I'm kind of curious, like, just to all of our viewers out there that they might not know what their next step might be. What are some wise words that you would want to say to them?
I think like the best things that ever happened to me have been completely random and I didn't have them planned. They were not something that I always pictured myself doing. So if you're in that like stage of your life where you're like, I don't know what's coming next, or I don't know how to make this decision, or I'm pulled between one thing or the other, like it sounds really cliche, but time will tell. Like just let it go, kind of breathe a little bit, and whatever, like something will always come up. And if it's really scary, like push into that a little bit, because when you're not scared, you're kind of just like living in your comfort zone. You're not going to learn anything. Like you're not going to grow as a person. So if something does come up in your life and you're like, like I've never done that before, moving halfway across the world, like just like kind of lean into it. Be very open-minded about the new experiences that could come your way. Like I said, I wanted to be a high school teacher. I never thought I was going to be working with kids. I actually didn't even, a kid would come into the room and I'm like, I don't even know what to say to them, or if their parents there, I'm like, I don't want to say something wrong. But now it's like, I love kids. Like I want to spend the rest of my life. I can't wait to be like a mom if I'm able. Like it's just, you never know which way your life is going to take you. So if something does come up, just be very open to receiving it, I guess. Yeah.
It's a good way to look at life, though.
Thank you.
Just kind of taking whatever might be life is actually coming thrown at you.
Yeah. And it's very easy now too to just find yourself down in the dumps sometimes. I think COVID really took a hit on some people, their like mental health. And even before I went away to France, like I was dealing with some mental health stuff too. So I think making that decision when I was down in the dumps and just getting myself out of that, I like learned that sometimes, you know, if you're feeling depressed or etc., you can like look at your environment, change your environment, open yourself up to new experiences, and you have no idea what could change. Because for me, it kind of like, it didn't cure everything, but it definitely made me realize that I have the power to change my situation. Like if I'm really unhappy with how something is going in my life, or if I'm not feeling comfortable where I'm at, like you're the only one that can make that decision for yourself. Go do something new. Go, even if you don't really feel like it, like just, you got to push yourself to do those things.
Yeah, because it's kind of you against the world.
Yeah, exactly.
Even you versus you, sort of.
Yeah, you can't wait for anybody else to hand feed you things on a platter. Yeah, you just got to do it.
It's a great way to look at it.
That's awesome. I mean, I think that's all we have for this episode for time.
Yeah,
we had lightning questions, but I think we have to wrap up.
Sorry.
Well, it's all good, no problem.
No, it was great.
This has been another episode of the Red Couch Podcast. If you would like to subscribe and see more of what we have to offer, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, our Twitter, our website, and we'll see you next week. I'm Konstantinos, alongside Alex. See you next time.